Hello, welcome to Estuary TV News. In the headlines today, a couple who are targeted and abused because of their disabilities. And I speak to safeguarding professionals about how vulnerable adults can be protected. And Tom Reed tells us what happened in sport over the weekend. But first, here's Erica Barker with the news headlines.
The headlines today. People across East Yorkshire and Northern Lincolnshire may be occupying their childhood bedroom long into their young adult years, according to the housing charity Shelter. And farmers in our region sent hay to Somerset to help with the flood relief effort. But first, days after it was announced that up to 250 jobs could be lost at Icelandic Sea Chill, a second jobs blow has hit Grimsby. It's been reported that vehicle processing firm Paragon will close its Grimsby site, resulting in over 30 job losses. We contacted the firm, but they refused to comment. After people from around our region came together to remember the 36 men who died after the Hull-based trawler The Gaul went down 40 years ago, fishing heritage group Strand say a planned memorial to be completed by the end of the year will be fundamental in allowing the youth of the city to realise the major role that the industry played to help ensure that the 6,000 men who lost their lives are always remembered.
One of the major aims of Stand was that a suitable memorial should be erected on a site which was part of the fish stock, the St Andrews fish stock. That site has been chosen, and we've held an international design competition which we've now completed and chosen a group who will construct this memorial. And it isn't just a memorial for now, but it's for the future generations, to learn about the important part that the fishing industry played in this city.
Farmers across our region are joining forces to send aid to flood victims in Somerset. Lorries of straw and forage have already left Lincolnshire, with more to follow. Over £500 was raised for the cause at the agricultural social media group Club Hector's second birthday celebrations at the weekend. A depot has been set up at the farm of James Hoe in Alford, who feels it is important to help fellow farmers.
Used to have a lot of livestock a few years back. People with a house flooded is one thing, but when they've got the houses flooded, the whole business, plus a lot of livestock in 2 or 3 feet of water, and all the forage is flooded as well, they need help at this time. And just trying to do the best we can for them, really.
Andrew Ward, who won the Farming Champion Award for his forage aid, which was set up to help Welsh farmers in last year's snow, is also helping deliver food to the southwest.
Well, obviously I've got to help, and so yes, that is happening, but at the moment I'm not running it single-handedly like I did last year. The NFU have become more involved, and at the moment there's a lot of feed being coordinated and moved, and bedding as well. But also the problem we've got is housing. A lot of animals, and cattle especially, have got to be moved out of the yards that are flooded. And so coming to Lincolnshire, obviously, that can't be done because animal restrictions. You know, DEFRA have certain restrictions on animal movements.
Average earners in Yorkshire and the Humber would need to take home up to £25,000 more a year just to keep up with soaring house prices. That's according to the housing charity Shelter. They compared wage and house price inflation since 1997 and found the money people take home in their pay packets does not reflect the figure needed to get on the property ladder. And there's a buzz among the emergency services as more and more police officers take to Twitter. And beside police has been training officers to use a social media site to keep the public informed on a daily basis. Many officers are taking to it and finding it addictive, including Emily Broughton from Immingham's local police team.
The type of things we tweet about here is getting messages out there quite quickly, whether it's missing persons, the jobs we're doing on a day-to-day basis, it's getting it out there. We also try to get our personalities across in it as well, which also I think people like.
A Winterton church has shut its doors for a £1 million refurbishment. All Saints Church will be shut for at least a year while it undergoes restoration, mainly funded by a Heritage Lottery grant to transform it into a more community-friendly facility. Inside the Grade 1 listed building will be a heritage space dedicated to artefacts that tell the story of the church's history.
It will be a resource in Winterton that is badly needed. It will be a place where we can have classical gatherings, we can have art, we can have plays, we can have concerts. The children can come and hopefully the community will come inside the building and look.
And that's all from me. Until next time, goodbye.
Thanks, Erica. A group of youths on a quiet street can be intimidating for any adult, but for David Hinch and his partner, it's even more so. The couple say they regularly receive verbal abuse from youths in Grimsby because of their disabilities, which can make an everyday task such as going shopping a terrifying experience. Reporter Emma Lingard went to find out more.
For this couple, trips to the shop have often resulted in verbal abuse. In a recent incident, Katrina, who suffers with a disability that means she walks with a slight tilt, was name-called by a group of youngsters.
Me and my wife have got a learning disability and it really upset her. And she's got an illness, she's got diabetes and she's been in hospital quite last year and she couldn't be really doing with it.
David is no stranger either to being targeted, but they've had enough. The incident, which happened at a bus stop at Asda, has been reported to the police, but David wants people to know it isn't right.
I think we're just like normal people and we shouldn't be sat on, the elderly shouldn't be, and I think really we should really be respectful. But from my point of view, if anybody like us or any elderly people, we ought to go to whether a nearest shop with one of the stickers in, and people like us. When it was launched, the Keep Safe scheme, we all got given a key ring.
Now you'll be glad to know that there is some help out there. Joining me from their office on Grimsby's Europark, I have Joe Warner, the MD of Focus Independent Adult Social Work, and Sue Barnes, Head of Safeguarding Adults North East Lincolnshire. Sue, we've had an incident here in North East Lincolnshire and the couple involved mentioned the Keep Safe scheme. Can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
Well, the Keep Safe scheme, it's an arrangement that's been made between Adult Social Care and the Safeguarding Adults Partnership with some local businesses and organisations within North East Lincolnshire. And what the scheme aims to do is to help people who may feel vulnerable when they're out and about in the community feel safer by having some local organisations and businesses that display a Keep Safe sticker so that they would know where to go if they're feeling vulnerable, and those businesses will make a phone call on their behalf to get them some assistance.
And what's the uptake like for that in North East Lincolnshire?
Well, we've had a lot of businesses that are, and organisations that are keen to take part in the scheme. There's about 100 local businesses, and at the moment there are about 150 local people that are enrolled on the scheme.
Now I know you can't comment on individual cases, but do you ever get reports from vulnerable people being verbally abused?
We do get some, unfortunately, and I think what those individuals would just like is to know that there is assistance out there for them, and we will offer them as much support as we can to help them feel safer when they're out in the community.
And Joe, what's your involvement in this?
Well, I actually, managing the social work practice, the safeguarding team that Sue manages is part of that practice. And obviously I take a sort of wider view of the overall situation around what's termed hate crime. And I'm part of, along with Sue, we're both part of the Independent Safeguarding Board. It's very clear that people with a learning disability in particular, but people with disability in general, are very vulnerable to these kinds of crime. With around 2,000 sort of recorded incidents by the police in any one year, but an estimated 62,000 people actually suffering this at any time.
Is there a high level of complaints from people like David and his partner?
It's generally low, and I think that fits in with the overall pattern across the country, that only a fraction of the people who suffer these incidents actually report them to the police.
Now, this is an awful experience to happen to anyone, whether they're vulnerable people or not. Do you work with any other agencies to help educate people on how to deal with a difficult situation like the one that they did mention?
We do. We obviously work very closely with the police, but we work with providers of other services, so Care Plus, Navigo, who provide mental health services. These are also members of the local safeguarding arrangements, and also providers of services for people with disabilities.
So how do you stop this kind of abuse and name-calling? Is this something that's more about changing attitudes than anything else?
Well, I think it can be quite difficult, and it's making sure that those people really understand the impact that they're having on other individuals, because no one should really feel vulnerable and afraid when they're just accessing normal community services and going about the day-to-day lives.
And if there are people out there who want to sign up for the Keep Safe scheme, how do they get involved?
Well, what they can do is contact us at the safeguarding team, and they'll be sent a registration pack and all of the information and things that they need to take part in the scheme.
And is this scheme just open to disabled people, or is it something that's open to everyone?
The scheme is open to everyone who may feel vulnerable when they're in the community. The uptake we've had so far is mainly people within learning disability services, but we also have had other individuals joining the scheme, and we would welcome anybody.
Joe and Sue, thank you very much for coming in today. Now, if you're a shop or a person that wants to get involved with the Keep Safe scheme, register by calling 01472 232244. Now here's Tom Reed with the sports results from the weekend.
Hull City beat Sunderland 2-0 with Shane Long and Akicha Jelavic on the mark to register their first Premier League win of 2014. Grimsby Town drew 0-0 at home to Southport and missed the chance to move into the playoff places in the Skrill Premier. Lincoln City came from behind to beat Hyde 4-3 with late strikes from Ben Tomlinson and Tom Miller. In Sky Bet League 2, Sam Winnell scored for Scunthorpe, who drew 1-1 against Chesterfield, their fifth in a row. North Ferriby remained top of the Conference North despite losing 2-0 at Barrow. In the Toolstation Northern Counties East League Division 1, Cleethorpes Town lost 3-0 at Bottisford. Louth drew 1-1 at home to Yorkshire Amateur. Grimsby Borough versus Teversall was postponed and has been rearranged for Wednesday the 12th of March. Curtis Woodhouse got his first win as school manager, beating Lincoln United 2-1 with a Sean Wright own goal and a Samuel Colbert 86th minute strike. Brigg Town's game at Leek was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. In Rugby Midlands 3 East, Grimsby lost 3 points to 10 against Elston St James, but Cleethorpes versus Amber Valley was postponed in Midlands 4. Market Raisin and Louth were beaten 29-17 at Peterborough First in Midlands 1. In hockey, Grimsby First defeated Brigg Third 6-0. In ice hockey, Hull Stingrays lost 3-0 against Belfast Giants. And finally in lacrosse, Liverpool beat Hull 11-6 and Lincoln drew 6-6 with Ashton. And that's it for the sport. I'm Tom Reed.
Thank you, Tom. That's all we've got time for today. Now, don't forget that if you know of any local stories or issues, get in touch by phone on Grimsby 315561, on Facebook or Twitter at Estuary TV, or email us on news@estuary.tv. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.